Welcome to the Acumatica user forum. So, this is intended to be for our Acumatica users. It's something we just want to kind of pick a topic on a monthly basis and share it with our customers. And we really do want to take feedback if you've got any ideas on topics you might want to see. We've got we do have, I think, our next one coming up in November is going to be for warehouse management, another great topic. If you have any suggestions, always ready to hear your feedback. If you want to go to the next slide, Scott. So a couple of us are presenting today. I'm Bob Black. I'm the division vice president, so I manage this division. Coming up on 3 years old. So we started an Acumatica division. We call it the multi-industry division. Scott Smallbeck is also going to be doing kind of the hands-on demo of things today. So he'll be showing his screen and things a little bit later. Got just a couple slides to take you through. Not heavy presentation here today. We're going to get into the meat and potatoes of our topic, which is workflow automation and escalations. So and Scott's one of our consultants that's actually really good at that. So there's options for support. It's not a requirement. If you call us and you need help, we're going to help you. You should be receiving calls from a primary contact who's a consultant that maybe was on your project when you were implemented, or someone who's been assigned after that. That's always a person that can help you. We have a hotline that you can call into and get help whenever you need that. There are support agreements if you're ever interested in that. As an option, that's an action delivered support agreement. So next slide, please, Scott. Always like to remind everyone about the Acumatica community. There's a lot of great information out there. New product that just came out. There's a lot of content out there about that. It's always a great place to look at product ideas and news and announcements and discussion forums. So just a friendly reminder. Acumatica marches forward with releases. We need to update this slide. We just had a release of Acumatica 22R2 about a week and a half ago. So it's time to think about those upgrades, kind of staying current. There is an end to these. As you see, there's a retirement dates that are listed for some of these releases. So just know that you don't want to get in a situation where you're extended past the end date of a release. And so with that, we'll turn it over to Scott, and he'll take us through a few bullet points here, and then I'll actually get in and show you some of the hands-on things. So take it
Excellent.
away.
Thank you, Bob and Lauren, for that good introduction. Today, we're going to look through some of the capabilities in Acumatica around workflow escalation, notifications that you might want to send out to users or to contacts within Acumatica, either when specific things happen inside of Acumatica or when certain records, are in a state that somebody needs to be notified. Maybe you've got a case open and it's been more than a week, and you want to go ahead and have that an email notification sent out to whoever that's assigned to, or to their supervisor, or you want to be aware of a customer that's approaching their credit limit and have a notification sent out, or maybe as a result of certain updates to a transaction, other updates need to occur. And so we'll look at using business events and workflows notifications within Acumatica, to automate some of those capabilities. And I just wanted to highlight, what we're going to talk about here. I'm really going to point out a few things that just might not be super intuitive about it as you start to dig into it, to really hopefully help with when you first start to tackle these. Hopefully, make that transition for you a little smoother, and understand how these transactions occur, how these notifications occur, where to go to update them, and things like that. So I just want to highlight, there's kind of three different types of business events, and the thing that, sometimes you'll be like, is this something that needs to be, triggered by a record change? Is this something I want to schedule? And we'll kind of talk about, the scenarios and where each of those come into play. So if you're looking at a change to data where I'm on a particular form and I've updated a value, and right as a result of what I just did, I want to send an email notification, or I want to send a push notification, or a text message to a user, a group of users, or a contact. If that's going to be a trigger by record change, that's a type of business event triggered by record change. I just made a change, somebody made a change as a user, I want something to happen. Then we've got cases where nothing changed on a particular record. So I've got all my opportunities out there. I didn't update any of those opportunities, but maybe every day I want to check, are there any opportunities that have been in place for over 30 days and nothing's happened on them? So that's one I'm going to schedule. Maybe I'll run that on a daily basis, because what I'm doing is I'm looking at, using a generic inquiry, all of the records that are meeting certain conditions, and then going ahead and sending an update, or whatever my business event is going to be. So those ones you're going to trigger by schedule. But sometimes when you're thinking about that, the key is this something that I want to occur right away when somebody does something? Those are going to be your trigger by record change type of business events. Other ones where nothing specifically has changed, those are going to be triggered by schedule. And then I'll also show you how we can update the menuing in the system to then trigger, where a user actually triggers an action, and that triggers off that business event. So it's not triggered by data, it's not on a schedule. A user actually specifically selects something, and I'll show you how that works as well. And then the data that is going to be the source of information for the business events is going to be either a data entry form. So if I'm doing trigger by record, I'm on a particular screen, I make a change, I'm going to say which exact data entry form. Maybe it's maybe it's a customer form or an opportunity form, and a user makes a change that triggers it. So I'll pick, that business event will be driven off of that particular form. If it's going to be triggered by schedule, then I'm going to have a generic inquiry that I'm going to create that'll be filtered down. It'll show just the records we want to work with for that particular event, and then that will be the generic inquiry that'll be the source of data for that particular business event. And then if it's a trigger by action, that's going to be a generic inquiry, but it's actually going to add that to your action menu, and I'll show you an example of that. That one's actually the simplest, because we're really not doing any kind of monitoring of anything. We're just adding that to the form so that the user is able to select that, and I'll walk through kind of a process for that. So let me flip over into Acumatica here, and here we go. And as always, when I do these, if you've been on these before with me, this is probably my fourth or fifth one. I always want to do my advertisement for Open University, where you can come in here in the course catalog. And, if you're wanting to dig deeper into any of the topics that we go through on these calls, or just get yourself educated in the system, Open University has courses for every area of the system, and diving down into the administrative capabilities is where we see things like workflows, database, all those topics that we've been talking about, are all covered here on Open University. So I always want to make sure and make a plug for that. So let's just kind of talk about some of the scenarios where you might want to use, some automation to help your users get notified of different things within the system. You could have a sales manager that just wants to get notified when, a customer has placed an order, or when that order is shipped. So maybe that you send out a notification for that. Again, like I talked about, you may have a customer that's approaching their credit limit, or maybe they're trying to place an order and that would put them over their credit limit, going ahead and sending a notification for that. Again, if a particular user gets assigned something, then you can go ahead and notify that user of that, a case or an opportunity or a lead, whatever the situation might be. So let's go ahead and look at the one thing, we're not going to spend a lot of time actually like creating a brand new one, because Acumatica has really given us a lot of good examples of business events that are, can be used as a starting point, so that you can go ahead and you're not having to necessarily reinvent the wheel. A lot of these are, going to be ones that you can use an example that do something very similar, to what you might want to be doing, and you can kind of see where exactly, how exactly those were created, by Acumatica. And they've provided, as you can see, quite a good set of samples of different types of business events. I'm just here in the demo database out of the box, and you can see there's quite a few, and you're able to just activate or deactivate those, so that they're triggering appropriately, and any of the ones that aren't activated, the system's just going to ignore, so you don't have to worry about those particular ones. So when I look at opportunities as an example, you can see here I've got some different business events that fire off when a salesperson's assigned, upcoming sales, as well as ones like overdue opportunities, or in particular one that I want to look at here is active opportunities that haven't had any activity within 30 days. So it could be the case if I look at the salesperson dashboard. You can see here I've already got a card on my dashboard that's showing me that I have 8 opportunities. They're open and they haven't had any activity within 30 days. And that may suit your case fine, but it may be that you want to reinforce this dashboard that gives us these opportunities that are in that state. Let's say we want to reinforce that and send an email notification out, on top of that to the assigned salesperson, letting them know that, hey, you should probably be following up on these particular opportunities. So we've got it, we've already got this on a dashboard, but we're going to reinforce that with a business event. So I can go ahead and I've clicked into this particular business event, and you can see this one here set to trigger by schedule. And because I've selected this opportunity notifications generic inquiry, this is where you would choose which type of business event you're creating, whether that's triggered by schedule, triggered by the record change, or triggered by action. Where it gets confusing is if I just click the new record here, and now I've just got triggered by record change, and that's because Acumatica is filtering down the types that you're able to select based on which screen you choose, whether it's a generic inquiry or a data form. So, you may be wanting to come in and create a business event that's triggered by a schedule, and you're not seeing that choice. So to save you the frustration there, I'll just go ahead and show you here. If I go ahead, and I'm just going to do uh, a new event, and I'm going to pick which screen I want to tie that to. So if I pick a generic inquiry for that, and maybe that's going to be my customers, oops. Now in that type dropdown, I'm going to be able to select, any of the types, because instead of a data form that's only available for record change, I can go ahead and pick. I'll be able to pick by schedule or by action here once this little delay processes. There we go. And so now you can see that instead of just having record change, I've got trigger by schedule, trigger by action. I know it was just confusing for me the first time that I went to create a new business event, and I was wanting to do a one by schedule, and I didn't see that in the drop down. That kind of got me a little flustered. So I just wanted to point that out so that you'd be aware of what you need to do to see that. All right. And so I'm going to go ahead and click into that again. When you're talking about, setting up a business event, you've kind of got, 3 different things that you're dealing with. And so we already talked about the type, and identifying the type is really a key to knowing how you're going to, accomplish the particular notification or escalation that you're wanting to accomplish. And so in this case, it's triggered by schedule, because we're again wanting to look at that entire list of all the opportunities that haven't had any activity in the last 30 days. And I'm going ahead and I'm doing that for a group of records. And I only want to see, I only want to send one of these. I don't want to send an email for every single opportunity. So if you remember, we've got 8 opportunities in this list right here. In this case, they're all assigned to Maxwell. We don't want to send Maxwell 8 different email notifications about these overdue opportunities. Let's just send one. So we're going ahead and we're grouping it, and we're saying just, group the records by the owner ID. So we're going to send one notification per user regarding their overdue or these opportunities that they haven't acted on in the last 30 days. And then we can just give it a description here that is going to help us understand what the purpose of this particular business event is. So that's the business event itself. And now what we do is we look at from that generic inquiry, then we go ahead and we put in the criteria for what we want, which records we want to match. And this is going to follow the same type. If you went to the webinar we did on generic inquiries, I went into some of the detail, or the one on dashboards, where it's kind of the same process as far as how you filter out the records. So just like we saw with generic inquiries and dashboards, when we're doing the filtering, we can add any number of criteria here. Anytime that we're doing and or conditions, we'll want to bracket those appropriately. So we're saying that in this case the status is one, and it doesn't equal one, it doesn't equal loss. So it's going to be a new or open opportunity. And you could certainly have created the filtering that way as well, where you could have said the status equals open or the status equals new. So again, different ways to filter the same information. And then we're going ahead and we're saying, and the last outgoing activity is equal to or less than today minus 30. And just like, I don't know if I hit on it on some of the other webinars we've done, you're able to come in here and you can see I can pick on any of the places we're wanting to filter by a date. I can pick a specific date, or in this case where we're saying less than or equal to today minus something, you're not going to have like today minus 30 in this list. You're going to have these different parameters that you can put in there. So I can go ahead and put today, and then I can just go ahead and add or subtract any number of days. So whatever I'm adding or subtracting is going to be a number of days from this particular value. And so that's where I said today minus 30, so that we're saying opportunities that their last activity was, less than or equal to today, 30 days ago. So that would be in this case, September 13th. In the same way, if I'm creating a forward-looking inquiry where I want to see, maybe I want to get a notification of opportunities that are scheduled to where the estimated close date is in the next 30 days. I could go ahead and say today plus 30. So then I'm going to see everything where it's equal to or greater than, today plus 30. So that type of thing. So that gives us we've got the schedule set up, and we're going to go ahead, and this is how we're going to trigger it based on the particular fields here in the trigger conditions. Then we have, separate from the business event, we've got the subscribers, and these are basically the actions that are going to occur for each record that is triggered by the business event. And so in this case, we've got an email notification that we've set up, and I can go ahead and drill into this particular email, which we'll do shortly here. But there's a few other types of actions I can take when this business event gets triggered. So we've got, email notifications, which is probably the most common that we would do. You can have an import scenario that fires off to bring in some records or update records based on this particular action. I can do a push notification, or I could do a text message notification. And just in case you don't know the difference between those two, a push notification is where I have Acumatica installed as an application on my mobile device, and it's going to go ahead and send that notification as a push notification through the application. It's going to show up as a notification on my phone, and then an SMS notification is going to be a text message to that particular mobile device. So they can look very similar when they pop up on your phone, but one comes through the application and one is actually sent as a text message. And then I might also, just schedule a task. So, it could be that as a result of no activity occurring in the last 30 days, maybe we don't want to send an email notification at all. Maybe we want to go ahead and schedule a task like a phone call, so that that user then gets a task on their list of things to do, and they could then go ahead and follow up and complete that phone call, which would then basically now we've accomplished two things. We've alerted that person that through the dashboard that they haven't followed up on it. We've scheduled a task for them to follow up on it, and then when they complete that task, then we've automated that process to where now they're communicating and following up on whatever the activity is. So these are the different things that we can do. We've got a business event, it fires off, a certain set of records are included in this trigger, and then here's the actions that we can take as a result of it, and those are called subscribers. And so to find those subscribers, you end up going to the particular type of thing. So in this case here, we have an email notification. You'll notice when I click on the subscriber ID here to take me to it, it's now taking me to all of the notifications that are out there. So if I go back to the generic inquiry here for these notification templates, here's all the different notification templates that are already within Acumatica. So you need to, you've got the business event, and then separately you are creating and dealing with the actual notification, whether that's an email or a text message or a push notification that you set up here within notification templates. So let's open up again the one for this particular business event. Oh, here we are right here. Uh, this is that email notification. And why is it not? There we go. That link went away for a second. All right. So we're looking at this particular one again. And if you set up any emails within Acumatica, this is going to be exactly how you've potentially done that before, where you come in here and you give it a name, a description, who it's from, and then you're able to utilize the field mapping here in there, where we're saying here for the particular owner ID of the opportunity, get the email field, substitute that in here, and or you could put in a particular, not that you would, but you could put a particular email address in here. This is how we're formatting this to find the actual email address of the owner that is assigned to that particular opportunity. And in this case, if you remember, we're doing one notification for each user, and then that'll have any number of opportunities that user is assigned to. We can do a CC or a blind CC on that subject line, and then here's the actual message. Now this one's a little more complicated because you see it's creating this this table here of the various opportunities that this person's assigned to, and creating these email notifications. This actually could be a webinar in itself, as far as just how to work with creating email notifications, because you create these for for different places, for different tasks, and there's different types of things that you're doing with these. Maybe you're sending out email notifications, emails of reports, or different things like that to sales orders, things like that to customers. So going through and creating these emails here. Don't forget, and I always want to point out that the help system is very useful. Always go ahead and open help, and it's going to really dive deeper into any of these particular topics that that we're talking about. Even with the business event, go ahead and click on that help screen, and it'll really walk you through a lot of the details around that. So always take advantage of those resources. So that's the actual email that will get sent out as a result of this particular business event. And then you go ahead and you also define a schedule. How often is this particular notification going to occur? So if I want that to be, daily, I can come in here and I can schedule that. And again, then I can pick. I don't have any schedules defined, but in our system, we have an email notification like this that's set out to go on a daily basis. I could go ahead and actually create a schedule right here. And so I'm going to just call this daily. Oops. There we go. Daily schedule. And I can go ahead here and I can say when it's going to start, how often it's going to go. So it's going to go daily. It'll tell me the next execution date, when it starts. So maybe I want that to go out at 2 a.m. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. And now I've got this daily schedule set up that I can now assign to any number of business events. So the same schedule would get used, just like the email notifications aren't tied to a particular business event. I can have, I can utilize a particular notification or a particular schedule for, different business events. They're not directly tied just to this one business event. There's a business event. Separate from that, there are the notifications that go out, and then separate from that are the schedules as well. So that's kind of the complete piece of what makes up, this particular notification that's going to go out. That's really going to, again, as we talked about, flesh out. We've got something here that we're wanting to track on, that we're tracking on a dashboard that we want out. Also email. So we go ahead and we create this business event. We identify the values that trigger, so again, it's the ones that are in that new or open state. They're not won or lost, and they haven't had an activity within the last 30 days. We then set up the subscribers, which again it's an email notification, or it's could be a text message, and then we set up the schedule. So those are the components that make that up. Very similar if we were going to do something where a particular one business event was triggered off of a record change. So that particular one was triggered by schedule. Let's look at this one where we're over here on the right hand side, we see the event type. That one's triggered by a record change versus a schedule. So now what we're going to say is that based on a particular field changing, we're going to go ahead and do some action. So in this case, we're picking a screen here, the opportunity screen, and now you'll notice that oops, no, this one is based off of that list as well. But what we're saying is there's a new field here. The owner is not empty. So every time a record is updated, if the owner is not empty, then we're going to go ahead and process this. And notice that it says new field value. So when you're creating a business event, you are able to track the any of the fields that are in the particular inquiry or form that you're dealing with, as well as the new or old values that were updated in this trigger. So the new field value of the owner ID is not empty. Then we're going to go ahead and that's going to trigger this particular business event, and it's going to happen in real time. So we're not going to have a schedule. So you'll notice we've got trigger conditions, we've got subscribers, and then we've got fields to track. By default, fields to track is always just set to track all fields. And the notification or the alert that you see right here, this yellow alert, this is just saying that because we're tracking all the fields that are updated on this particular form, then that could be a performance hit. So if you wanted to, you could specify the exact fields that you're monitoring for this event, so that instead of all opportunity fields, it would only be monitoring the particular fields that we care about in the trigger conditions. But by default, it just says all fields to track, and that's perfectly acceptable. But if you did want to fine tune these for maximum performance, you would then go ahead and just pick the exact fields that in this case we're talking about the owner ID field. So I could come in here, uncheck track all fields, and now you'll notice I could just, because I believe this is already added because it was part of the trigger conditions. So it probably automatically added those, and we could test that by going in here, and we could say, again, we could say field change, new value, old value. So I could say the old value, and then we could go here and say CR opportunity, owner ID, and now equal to, and now I could pick a particular user. So, I mean, we could say now that this is only going to affect now where the old field was, I didn't notice the name, Alex Sanchez, and then this is just his employee ID. This is only going to trigger where the old field was Alex and the new field is not empty. Then it's going to go ahead and trigger that. Now, again, that's just the same field. I should have picked a different field. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let's go ahead and say that the stage equals, so now we're going to say only for ones that are in the qualification stage do we want this to, I've got an or condition here, so just in case anybody was going to hit me on that, I went ahead and changed that to an and. So we're saying the owner is not empty, and it's in the qualification stage, the old field value, which is, and then if I go fields track, so yep, notice it did automatically add that there. So you're certainly safe to uncheck track all fields and then let the system go ahead and populate in the fields that are in the trigger conditions, and you'll be good to go there. Okay. Otherwise, this is very similar to the trigger by schedule, except again, remember now what we're doing is every time the record's updated, it's going ahead and this business event's firing off saying, are any of the, is the record that just got updated, is it meeting these conditions? If it is, then go ahead and fire off the event. And then we have here a push notification to the mobile application. And if we look at that, it's going to have a very similar layout to the email notification that we previously had. We have a notification ID, we have what screen it was for, and then who it's going to get sent to, a title rather than a subject, and then the actual message. And again, this is going to be very more simplified message because again, remember, this is popping up on your phone as a notification from the from your app. And again, where we see these fields here, where we're putting in fields from the particular record that we're dealing with, I can go ahead and say insert data field, and that will populate those into the message. So I say insert data field, and now I can go into any of the entities that are mapped to this particular form. So maybe I want to put in the contact phone number, and I could put that in there in my notification. So that's how I can deal with those. Okay. And then this is just the event that's gonna, this is all of the, and I should have pointed this out in the emails as well. What's nice about this is I could be looking at a particular email or a particular notification, and so this is the message, and then this is all of the different events that utilize this particular notification. So like I said, this notification isn't limited to only doing the, this one's only assigned right now to this particular business event, opportunity 1 salesperson assigned. But it could be that I'm using this exact same notification on several different business events. And so this shows me all the places where this one's in use. So that's a kind of a nice feature that you can, you're not having to track that down. And if I want to make a change to this, I can see what impact that's going to have. Oh, okay, it's updating these various business events. And I may want to either create a new notification for the business event I'm dealing with, or, it just keeps me aware of all the places in the system that are utilizing this particular email notification or this particular mobile notification in this case. Okay. Otherwise, again, similar to what we saw with the trigger by schedule with the trigger by record change. So let me do one more here to show you under opportunities. You can see I don't have any extra menu or anything right here at this point, but let's say that we get some type of a list of opportunities that we want to have a particular person or salespeople upload opportunities, but we don't want to necessarily have them go through the import scenarios and import by scenario and run all that. We just want them to have the ability to process their particular thing very easily from DP opportunities in this case. That's where I would use the trigger by action to give them the ability to fire off that business event. So if I go to business events, I'm just going to create a new one here. And let's just call this one import ops. And I'm going to pick that DB opportunity screen that were generic inquiry. All right. And now I'm going to pick trigger by action this time. Okay. And so the action name, let's go ahead and call this import opportunities. I should have just said ops, so I didn't have to check my spelling. Opportunities looks pretty good to me. This is going to be import action for salespeople. And now I can go ahead and again, I could have the different subscribers of what's going to happen. And in this case, rather than email notification, let's say that's going to be a particular import scenario. And now here I'm able to look up, rather than the emails, here I can look up the different import scenarios. In this case, I have just this one example one, so I just selected it so you can see what we're talking about. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. And now if I go back to DB opportunities, let's see if I refresh it here. No, I'm going to refresh this whole screen right here. Now you'll notice I have this action menu, and here I have import opportunities show up on my generic inquiry. And now I can go ahead and process, if I click that, it's going to go ahead and process the import scenario that I set up on the business event. So a very easy way to simplify those types of, if you have those types of imports or other actions, maybe this could be, rather than an import, maybe this would actually be an email that you wanted to send to, maybe you have some type of an email notification that you would send to a particular filtered set of records. And so I could go ahead and say, I'm just going to change the action name here. Maybe this is email weekly weekly status or something like that. And I could save that. And now you'll notice, and again, I'm not limited to one. I could create any number of actions on the, on a given form. But now you can see I've just updated this particular one. I come in here, now I've got the email weekly status action on my generic inquiry, and it's going to go ahead and process that again based on our business event, either for each record, or again, if I wanted to do it for a group of records. So in this case, maybe I only want to do it one time for each. I've got some different stages here. If I wanted to send out, I'm going to sort this by stage. If I wanted to send out one email per stage, which maybe isn't a good example, but just to demonstrate the concept, I would then pick stage, and I would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 email notifications going out, one for each stage. And so this is where I might, so I would get, so Maxwell, if that's what I'm sending those to, would get, opportunities in the proof stage, opportunities in the prospect stage, as each as individual emails. So hopefully that makes sense. Trying to just understand how that grouping works in relation to a business event and the records that are going to be included in that business event. So I would then go ahead and say for each group of records, and last time we grouped on owner, this time I could go ahead and say let's group on that stage, because I want to send the salesperson a list. Or this could be also if I've got a contact that, maybe I've got multiple opportunities for a particular external contact, and I want to send that contact, hey, here's all the projects that you're working on, that we're working on with you, and here's the status of those. And so I would group it by the status, and it would go ahead and send that out to that particular contact. Okay. So I know that's a lot of information. Again, I really was impressed when I come in here to business events and I see the help information around that. Walk through all the things we just talked about. Here's how I use a generic inquiry as a source. Here's how I use a data entry form as a source. So you can start to see, here specific help on, on maintaining and managing these. And then in the, again, I really can't stress enough how utilizing what's existing here as examples is really going to go a long ways towards helping you as you start to feel out the capabilities. Go ahead and play around with these. Maybe if you've got a test tenant, or you've set up a local, test environment that you're dealing with, so that you're not, blasting out an email notification to an unintended group of recipients, and get yourself comfortable with, utilizing these. And I think you'll find they're going to be, very powerful to, automate and make people aware of, records that are in various state, and take a lot, if there's manual, if you're able to identify places where people are spending time sending out email notifications, searching through the system to find, those cases where, hey, who are the opportunities I haven't dealt with? What orders are, what receivables are out there that that I need to follow up on? Different, whatever the case may be, identify where those pain points are, and then look at how business events can, help automate that process and really make, people, increase people's productivity and efficiency. So with that, I think we've got a little bit of time for questions, if there were any questions that came up in the chat. Okay, I don't see that we have any questions. Hopefully this was informative. Again, for me, I know personally, if I can, have somebody, explain some of these little sticking points, because, sometimes it's, just like I said, when I come in here and I'm wanting to do a schedule, and I don't see that in my list. It gets confusing. So having somebody explain, like, okay, I need to pick a particular inquiry, then I'll have all the right choices for my types. Or I'm looking at a subscribers tab, and I'm like, geez, how do I find where's that? Where's that email notification? How do I get to those? Because it's not subscribers, it's under notification templates, and that's where all these templates are set up and configured. So. Again, as always, if you have questions, if you want, we're available as application consultants to help walk you through. If you've got particular tasks that maybe you want to do, like together as a training event, to help enable you to kind of carry on these in the future, we're always more than happy to be available to walk you through those as well. With that, Bob, did you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, Scott, great level of detail there. I think, this is obviously a college level course in this topic, which obviously Scott's very comfortable with, and a great level of detail. Maybe this connects a few dots that maybe you're trying to connect out there in your environment. Maybe this is new stuff that you haven't necessarily seen before. So I guess in either case, we really want to be here to come alongside and help you with whatever you need. If that's as Scott said, let's build one of these together as a training time for this. Or you want us to engage in some of these dashboards and escalations and KPIs. Scott's also the person that can do a lot with those things too. So again, go ahead.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I was trying to catch you in between sentences. We did have a couple questions or one question that came in. Just if you wanted to kind of wrap up what you're saying, and then I can ask that, or we can do that now real quick.
Yeah, no, let's go to questions. That's great. Didn't think we had any. That's great.
All right. Okay, it says we've had a couple of instances where we wanted to use a business event from a custom generic inquiry that has grouping and sums. I don't believe our current version works with grouping business events. Is this something you're seeing come down the pipeline, or do grouping generic inquiries not work with business events?
Well, in general, what I would recommend, whether it's a dashboard or a business event, is to create a generic inquiry specifically for it. That way, you're not having, a generic inquiry that users are using, and they're dependent on specific filtering and specific groupings like you're talking about. If you go ahead and create that generic inquiry, perhaps without the grouping, then let the business event itself do the grouping based on that inquiry. So, or based on that business event for that notification. If that answers your question. But the best practice is to create a separate, see how this one's called DB opportunities. In the out-of-the-box demo database, DB stands for dashboard. So this is basically Acumatica's indication of, we created this generic inquiry just for that particular dashboard, versus if I go to here, or to be more correct, I always cheat and go to the search screen, but just to show you here, if I went to opportunities and now I went to that generic inquiry here, this is the generic inquiry that's really designed as the one that users are using when they're doing their day-to-day finding and searching and filtering of opportunities.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Scott. That was the only question that came in.
Okay, great. And I guess thank you for your time today. I know it's a little bit of a dive into some deep details, but thank you for your time today. Thank you for your attention, and please reach out if there's anything we can do with you. And again, any topics that you may want to see, we'd be glad to hear those. So thank you.
Definitely. I will be following up, as I mentioned, with the recording and with Scott's contact information, and so that you can ask questions as needed and re-watch this recording. So thank you, Scott. Thank you, Bob, and for all of our lovely Acumatica customers, thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.